What's up, guys? This is your friend, and we are back with a new fanfic story part 4. The fanfic title is What If Kiba Was Naruto True Friend Part 4. If you like this fanfic, don't forget to subscribe my channel Anime Hub 1.2. Now let's start the fanfics. Slap the seal on his chest. Naruto was about to activate it when he felt a stabbing pain in his side. Naruto looked down to see a spear of sand. Ignoring the pain, Naruto activated the seal. Gaara suddenly couldn't move and felt 10 times heavier. Naruto rolled off Gaara and got as far from Gaara as he could. He pulled out the spear and used his jacket to stem the bleeding. He stumbled to a tree and sat down, leaning against it. Son of a bitch, this hurts. Naruto shouted. He looked at Gaara, who was still struggling. Give it up, Gaara. That seal works by increasing your weight 10 times over. As long as that seal is activated, you aren't going anywhere. Quote, no, I refuse to be defeated. I must prove my existence. Gaara shouted. It hurts, doesn't it? The loneliness and hate that you received just because of something out of your control. Naruto said. Gaara stopped struggling when he heard that. Yeah, I know that feeling. 7 years of my life, I was ignored and hated because of what I had. Never knew about it until I became a genin. To learn the reason for their hate, I was a little pissed off that they would blame me. I was just born and this burden was put on me without my consent. Then why do you defend them? They do not deserve your strength. Why did you not turn out like me? Gaara asked. Someone, a guy my age, invited me to dinner with his family. He and his family let me in their home and treated me well. After that, he started losing his friends, so I kept my distance. Those friends came after me and he came to my defense. We've been best friends after that. Then I made some more friends who don't care about the village's opinion about me. Granted, they do not know about my burden, but they saved me from being lonely. My ambition to be Hokage is why I never became like you. Naruto explained. Then you were lucky. Gaara spat. I have no one. The one person who I thought cared for me attempted to kill me. It was then that I learned that I could only live for myself. Yet, you defeat me. Your way worked while mine failed. It wasn't that your way failed. I was just more willing to fight to protect my village, friends and family. Naruto said. It isn't too late, you know. You can find those people like I did. Quote, I doubt that. Gaara stated. The conversation ended by the arrival of the two Anbu. The one with a tiger mask knelt down next to Gaara. He noticed the seal on him. He looked at Naruto, who was being taken care of by his comrade. Hard day, Naruto? The Anbu asked. When is it not? Naruto jokes, wincing in pain. He then looked at Gaara. So Gaara, are you going to surrender? Not like I have a choice. Gaara said. With that, Naruto deactivated the seal. Gaara did not resist as the Anbu secured him. Watching from above, Sasuke glared at the two genin. He couldn't help but be frustrated at them. Those two had defeated him and showed abilities way beyond he could fathom. It angered him and he would like nothing more than to do something about it. However, he knew that he was now being carefully watched. Things were very different towards him. However, he swore that his losses would not go undealt with. Sasuke vanished, leaving the scene. Orochimaru looked at Hiruzen with nothing but hate. The old man laid there dead, but with that infuriating smile on his face. That smile mocked him as his arms hung limp. They were purple and looked decayed. The old bastard used a jutsu he never seen or heard of to seal away his jutsu. His sensei might be dead, but he still dealt him a critical blow. It wasn't the only critical blow he was dealt. Take down the barrier. We're leaving. Orochimaru spat. Yes, Lord Orochimaru. The four ninjas said. They dropped the barrier and quickly retrieved him, leaving immediately. 3 Anbu chased after them but were stopped by a 6-armed shinobi who spat out webbing at them. As they carried him, Orochimaru could see just how much his invasion failed. The village showed little signs of destruction. No dead bodies of Leaf Ninja, no crying civilians. All he saw were signs of defeat and men fleeing, like him. It enraged him to see all his work amount to nothing. What really angered him was that his failure started by discoveries made by a bunch of brats. His ignorance and arrogance led to this outcome because he dismissed the threat those kids were. It was only after he watched them perform did he realize the threat. Whatever new system his former sensei implemented, it was working. Because of this new path, his old village was much more prepared and he was made a fool. He lost his jutsu, his men, and he lost face. Orochimaru swore that he would not allow this failure to stand. He would find a way to get back his jutsu, and when he did, he would make the leaf pay. That he swore. In darkness, 9 figures appeared. They all stood in a circle and faced each other. Report. A distorted voice spoke. The figure had ringed eyes and was looking at the figure with a large, rectangular head. The Hidden Leaf Village was victorious. Orochimaru and the Hidden Sand Village were completely crushed. Despite their victory, the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, was killed, he reported. Orochimaru was completely defeated. That loser, he continues to be an embarrassment to us. You should let me deal with him. Show him my art, the figure with a topknot asked. That is not our focus. A female voice said. What about the containers? Quote, they fought each other with the 9 tails being the victor. He is stronger than we assumed. The rectangular-headed figure reported. It doesn't matter. Itachi, Kisame, it is time to make our move. Retrieve the 1 tail and 9 tails. The 2 figures just disappeared. Soon, all of them vanished into the darkness. Yeah, well, the women of the village are happy with what I did, so it. Naruto exclaimed with a smirk. It took all of Jiraiya's willpower not to pop him. Anyway, this is an important mission. I would be accompanied by Anbu, but that would only slow me down and raise suspicion. So, how about it, kid? You want to come with me? Jiraiya asked. I don't know. What's in it for me? Naruto asked. Other than getting out of the village. How about a new jutsu to your arsenal? He asked. You do know I make jutsu for fun, right? Quote. Can you make one without hand seals? Naruto eyebrows rose at that. Jiraiya smirked at his victory. Kakashi stood leaning against a wall, reading his favorite book. However, he wasn't really enjoying it. It wasn't a good couple of days for the one-eyed Jonin. After the invasion and the third's burial, he was called on by the Shinobi Council. He was questioned as to why Sasuke did not help Naruto during his battle with Gaara. They explained to him that Sasuke just stood by and watched as Naruto fought Gaara. The only excuse Kakashi could make was that Sasuke was injured and out of chakra. This was confirmed by Shikamaru's report. The council accepted the excuse and Kakashi was relieved. However, his troubles were just starting. Kakashi caught Sasuke attempting to confront Naruto at his apartment. He quickly snatched him up before they were seen. Kakashi demanded to know what Sasuke was planning, but Sasuke did not say anything. Kakashi warned Sasuke that Naruto and Sakura were off limits. He also berated him for not helping his comrade when he was fighting. Sasuke exploded and said that Naruto was not his comrade. He told him that Naruto was someone that he would deal with in time. Kakashi told him that he better not even try, but he could see that Sasuke was not listening. Since then, Kakashi had kept a closer watch on Sasuke. He used shadow clones for the task and he did not hide the fact that he was following him. He could see that it was annoying him, but Kakashi did not care. He would protect the boy from himself if needed, for his sake. And mine, Kakashi thought. He continued to read his book, but he now kept his eye on the 2 men that were walking by him. At least this would occupy his mind while he thought of a way to deal with Sasuke. Shikamaru was laying down on the grass. He was looking at the cloud in deep thought. There was just one question on his mind. It was a question he had since the third's funeral. What did Sum mean by Naruto being the only one who could understand Gaara? How was that possible? The question just nagged at him. Thinking kind of hard there, son. Shikamaru looked up from his spot to see his father. The elder Nara took a seat next to him and watched the clouds as well. The two just laid there in silence before he spoke again. Still thinking about Sum's comment. How did you know about that? Shikamaru asked with some surprise. She told me what she said to you and the others at the funeral. Unlike Kiba and Choji, I know that you would keep thinking about it. It is the same thing you did when you discovered Naruto's clan. You got that curiosity from your mother. You call it her nosy parenting. Shikaku said with humor. Gee, thanks for that. Shikamaru said annoyed. They were silent again before he spoke. So, are you going to explain what she meant? Let me ask you this. Would the answer change your opinion of Naruto? He asked. What? You have to understand something about your friend. That boy has had a very lonely life because of a heavy burden that has been placed on him. It isn't his fault because he had no say in the matter. Naruto should be celebrated for shouldering this responsibility, but this is not a perfect world. It is because of this that he is the only one who can understand Gaara. They have lived similar lives. The only difference is that Naruto has you, your friends and our families to banish that loneliness. Gaara has not. Shikamaru sat up to look at his father. Shikaku did the same and looked at his son seriously. If you are truly Naruto's friend, what you will learn when he tells you will mean nothing to you. However, know that what he will tell you is a secret that none of you are to know. If you tell anyone what you and the others will learn, there will be dire consequences. Just remember that you two are friends and he trusts you. Shikaku said. He patted his son's head before standing up and leaving. Left alone, Shikamaru just thought about the conversation. This must have been a big thing and it only made him more curious. Shikamaru just groaned and laid back down. Why couldn't he have normal friends? So we're going to retrieve your other teammate, Tsunade? Naruto asked. I'm surprised that you know that name. Jiraiya said the two were on the road. The man informed Naruto of their mission, which he planned to tell him later. He only changed his mind when he would not quit asking him about the mission. He was way too much like his mother. We learned a bit about her. Hell, out of all of the legendary 3 ninja, we studied her the most. Naruto said. Really? Why is that? Jiraiya asked. Well, her accomplishments were just more known than yours are snake faces. She was a revolutionary in the field of medics. Her skills helped the Leaf Village come out on top during the Second World Ninja War. I know she had an idea to train combat medical ninja, but it never got off the ground. It's because of that we learned basic first aid in the academy. Naruto explained. Wow, that's way more than I was expecting. Anyway, she's going to be our new Hokage. Jiraiya said. Really? Naruto asked concerned. Jiraiya picked up on that. What's your problem with Tsunade? He asked. I don't have an issue with her per se. I just think that you should be picked to replace the old man. No offense, but I don't really have a good opinion of your team. You guys were kind of similar to my team, the blonde said. Well, it was a different time, kid. Quote, I get it. It was during a time of war. Still, one of your teammates went rogue and the other hasn't been to the village since the Second World Ninja War. Did she go rogue as well? No, she didn't go rogue. She just has a problem with the village. Jiraiya said. And we're going with her as Hokage? Naruto asked with a tone. Don't be a wise ass. Jiraiya said. Naruto just shrugged and kept walking. The two continued their journey, coming up onto a nearby village. Unknown to them, they were being watched from a distance. So, that is Naruto. He's different from what I remembered. The smaller man said. You're not getting sentimental on me, are you, Itachi? The swordsman asked. Just an observation, Kisame. Let's go. Itachi said. The two followed the leaf ninja toward the town. Noticed that the flesh was wrapping around his sword. He quickly freed it in his foot before taking off with Itachi. You won't escape. Jiraiya shouted and the flesh began to chase the two. He waited for them to be crushed only to hear an explosion. Jiraiya quickly moved to see what just happened. Naruto followed and the two saw a hole. The hole had black flames in a circle around it. Jiraiya was really surprised by this. That shouldn't be possible. The rock-lodging toad is a fire-breathing toad. Fire shouldn't have any effect on his esophagus. Jiraiya said. Really? Naruto asked with surprise. He then looked at the flames. Maybe these flames are different from any other flame. Jiraiya didn't reply and pulled out a scroll. He sealed the fire up and planned to investigate it further. Jiraiya disengaged his jutsu and the flesh was disappearing. It was all gone soon and everyone was safe. Naruto. The blonde turned to see an angry Sasuke storm up to him, holding his wrist. What the hell did you think you were doing? Exclamation mark. Itachi was mine. I didn't need your damn help. Oh yeah, you certainly had him on the ropes. Naruto said sarcastically. This enraged the boy greatly. Using his good hand, he quickly whipped out a kunai and tried to stab Naruto in the face. This surprised the blonde who wasn't prepared for it. Lucky for him, Jiraiya was there. He caught the boy's wrist and quickly slammed Sasuke against the wall, holding his wrist that held the kunai. Have you lost all sense, kid? You realize that you just tried to commit murder, right? Jiraiya asked calmly. I don't care. I will kill him just as I am going to kill Itachi. They are both my enemies. Sasuke shouted. Jiraiya narrowed his eyes before adding pressure to Sasuke's wrist. This caused him to cry out and forced him to release the kunai. That's when Might Guy arrived and looked at the situation with concern. Seeing him, Jiraiya looked at him seriously. Guy, restrain this ninja. He ordered. Guy didn't know what was going on but he obeyed. He took Sasuke from Jiraiya before restraining him with ninja wire. Sasuke struggled all while glaring at Naruto. The blonde just looked back at him with a mixture of emotions. While he knew that Sasuke hated him, he did not expect it to be like this. Even now, as Sasuke glared at him, he could see the hate in his eyes. This really concerned the blonde, but he would not be caught unaware again. If Sasuke considered him an enemy, then he would do the same. XXX. Kin rushed at the wooden dummies. She flicked her wrists and unleashed several senbon that connected. The needles hit the small targets that were placed on several weak points. Kin continued to run as two shinobi jumped into her path. Kin did some hand seals and disappeared. The two shinobi waited for her to reappear only to have their world turn into a hazy blur. They were also sinking into the ground. It took them a while before they dispelled the genjutsu. Kin continued her path and reached the bell that was at the end of the room. With a tug, she rang it. A masked shinobi appeared on the training ground and made their way toward her. They faced the girl before giving her a nod. Kin could only smirk smugly at her victory. Watching from above, the Anbu captain stood along with the elders. So, has she proven that she can be trusted? Koharu asked. I would say that she has earned my trust, along with Kamachi. However, her reasons are mostly because of the girl's skill with senbon. She's eager to train her. The real test will come when she is paired with a team. The Anbu captain said. We will have to go through the list of reserves that we can pair her up with. All the genin teams are full. Homaru said. The captain nodded when they were interrupted by another shinobi. What is it? Koharu asked. Might Guy has returned with Sasuke in tow and restrained. He is taking him to the prison as we speak. The shinobi said. This surprised the three and wondered what the hell happened. XXX. Shikamaru did a seal and his shadow shot out. Adding more chakra, he split the shadow in 2, then 4, then 8. It was his limit, however, as he got really tired. He stopped his technique and sat down on the grass. He hated doing this, but it kept his mind off this thing with Naruto. Still, he couldn't believe that he was training instead of watching clouds. Either way, he needed to distract himself, and this was actually helping. As he rested, Shikamaru picked up another scroll. It had a technique that he was also learning besides clan techniques. It was another barrier jutsu called the Three Seal Barrier. It would be a great barrier to learn in case he needed to protect his team's campsite or to create an escape. His father would give him this scroll and he was really glad that he had a friend who taught him basic sealing. Shikamaru sighed and got back to work on the two new jutsu. He was still a bit annoyed doing this and he, of course, blamed his friends. XXX. Naruto struggled as he held a water balloon in his hand. He was growling as he tried to swirl the water that was within. With a frustrated sigh, Naruto decided to take a break. He was at this for an hour. Jiraiya noticed this and looked up from his research. "You done already, kid?" Jiraiya asked humorously. Yeah, laugh it up, pervy sage. "I'll get the hang of this in no time." Naruto exclaimed. "You've just started learning the Rasengan. You aren't going to get it so quickly. It took the fourth Hokage 3 years to actually create." Jiraiya explained. "Well, I'm going to be the best Hokage in the Leaf Village's history. So don't worry about me, pervy sage, I'll get this down without any problem." Naruto boasted and got back to work. Jiraiya chuckled at the blonde, but he was happy that it looked like he was okay. He believed that he was still thinking about the Uchiha kid trying to kill him or the Akatsuki that was AF. Tear him. He saw the look on his face when he explained it to him. He wanted the boy to talk to him about everything, but he threw himself into his training. For now, he would allow it, but he was going to get the blonde to talk. He needed to let his emotions out with everything that was on his plate. Jiraiya kept watch as Naruto continued to attempt to burst the balloon. Blonde said with an edge. Sakura was shocked by this and a little annoyed. She didn't understand why she was acting like this, but she had other duties. While Ino ruined her first solo exam, it would not be her last. "Very well, I will inform the head nurse," Sakura said and turned to leave. "Yeah, you do that." Ino spat. Sakura did not say anything and walked out of the examination room. Sasuke sat in his cell, rage in his eyes. He so wanted to activate his Sharingan and leave this cell, but these damn cuffs cut off his chakra. He also noticed a seal on the ground and it only made him glare more. He didn't know what it did, but he knew that loser had something to do with it. Naruto Uzumaki was a name that Sasuke had grown to hate as of late. Sasuke would never admit to anyone that he was jealous of Naruto. Naruto knew an art that he could not get his head around and it made the idiot strong. Not only that, he seems to get even stronger learning sealing jutsu, strength that he could have used. He had been personally trained by the village's top jonin and somehow, some way, that loser was able to keep up with him. It was infuriating to him and a hit to his pride. Naruto would continue to shred his pride when he defeated him in front of the village. That loser had the nerve to defeat him, the last Uchiha. He should have been on his knees, begging him to stop hitting him. Then there was Gaara. He should have won against that monster. It didn't matter what he used. He should have won. Yet again, Naruto was the one to stop Gaara. Not him, Naruto. Now that loser had Itachi's attention. Why him? Why was he so damn important? It should be him that Itachi should have focused on. He was the Avenger. His ambition was to avenge his clan and there was no way that Naruto was going to take that from him. So, in his mind, Naruto had to be removed. If he did it, then Itachi would focus on him. He was within his right to do what he needed to complete his ambition. He had no reason to feel any guilt in his actions. The village thought otherwise. In theory, he should have kept quiet about his actions, but that scared bastard insulted him. He played with his anger over Naruto. This made him reveal his actions when he met up with them. The elders were not happy with him and placed him in this cell. They informed him that he was being charged with attempted murder and going AWOL. They promised that he would never wear the leaf symbol again. As if he wanted to. "So, this is the last Uchiha," a voice said. Sasuke looked up to see an elder. However, this was not the same elder that put him in this cell. He had black, shaggy hair, and his right eye was bandaged. He also had an X-shaped scar on his chin. He wore a white shirt, with a dark gray robe over the top of it covering from his feet, to just over his right shoulder. His right arm was missing, and his left hand held a cane. A shame that he could not live up to expectations. Who the hell are you? Sasuke demanded. I do not give my name to future traitors, the elder said. Sasuke snarled and glared at the man. If you're here to give me another lecture, then you've wasted your time. Sasuke spat. I came to look at the rotten fruit that threatens to make our great tree sick. Despite our disagreements, Hiruzen made the right decision in nurturing our future. I refuse to allow his good work to be ruined by such a petty child. I will personally make sure that you are stripped of our symbol and thrown in the darkest of holes. He said before turning around and leaving, merging with the shadows of the prison. Sasuke just glared hard at the area the elder was standing. It's been a while since someone spoke to him like that. It was something he did not enjoy. Sasuke did not care if he lost his symbol. He did not care about the Leaf Village anymore. The village was a crutch that was holding him back. All that training and talk of camaraderie meant nothing if did not give him the power to get vengeance. Avenging his clan was all that mattered, and the hidden leaf was not providing him with the power needed to achieve it. If this village wouldn't give him the power, then he would go to someone who can. Sakura was checking on Asuma while Haku was checking on Kurenai. The two were still hospitalized but got good news that they would be leaving soon. Sakura took her fingers off Asuma's vein and looked at him with a smile. You are getting back to full strength. I'm still surprised that your lungs are still very good, especially with all that smoking. Sakura said. Sarutobi trade secret. Asuma said sarcastically. Kurenai rolled her eyes at the joke. Haku had also finished his examination and faced the two. Well, you are both able to leave, but the doctor still wants to observe you for another day. Haku said. This made Asuma groan and Kurenai smirked at his frustration. Sakura was also amused by their interaction and wondered if the two were dating. That's when Sakura remembered what happened earlier today and had a question for Asuma. Asuma-sensei, is Ino angry at me or something? She asked. The bearded Jonin looked at her. Why are you asking? He counter-asked. Well, I was trying to give her a check-up today and she totally gave me attitude. She refused to allow me to check on her and she had some nasty injuries on her shins and fists. I don't know what I did because we haven't spoken to each other since we were assigned teams. Sakura explained. Asuma sighed and pinched the bridge of his nose. It's nothing that you did, Sakura. Ino is just being childish. Your battle with Hinata at the Chunin finals was not something she expected to happen. She's very jealous of your growth. Asuma explained. Sakura was surprised by this explanation, as was Kurenai. The female kunoichi was about to say something but they were interrupted by the doctor entering the room. Oh, Sakura, Haku, are you done with the checkups? The man asked. Yes, doctor. The two said. He nodded at them before looking at Asuma. The Jonin saw the seriousness on his face. Is something wrong, doctor? Asuma asked. I would hope not, but since you are her sensei, I felt that you should know about Ms. Yamanaka. The man said. Is this about the bruises, doctor? Sakura asked. I wish it was just that. The bruises are bad, but so are the cracked fibula on both legs. Then there is the fracture in her wrist. These are pretty serious injuries for just training, the man explained. Asuma was not pleased with what he was saying. Training, is that what she told you? Asuma asked seriously. It is, and I believe she was telling the truth. I figure that I would inform you as you were here. I have already sent someone to inform her parents to come and see me so that I could explain the situation to them. Still, I recommend that you keep an eye on her. She's likely to hurt herself if this continues, the doctor said. Thank you for informing me. The doctor nodded and motioned for the two to follow. They left the room and a frustrated Asuma. Naruto's eyes opened and was immediately annoyed at where he was. It was a familiar sewer that he had no wish to be in. It meant that he was within his mind and someone brought him here. With annoyance, he got up and began to make his way to said person. It took a while before he came upon a large gate that was being held closed by a piece of paper. It had the word, seal, on it. Naruto glared at the gate before speaking. All right, Fox, get out here. Naruto shouted. An ominous feeling washed over the blonde as footsteps got closer. Two red eyes and rows of teeth suddenly appeared. Naruto would look at this with more annoyance, which whatever was behind the gate picked up on. Pretty brave with me behind this seal, brat. The voice said. Yeah, you're all big and scary. Naruto said mockingly. That made the two red eyes narrow, but Naruto didn't care. So, why the hell am I here? Quote. Naruto looked at Jiraiya with wide eyes when he explained that. Wait a minute, the person who we are looking for to be Hokage is the legendary. The blonde asked. It was not Jiraiya's turn to be surprised. Now I know that's something they would not teach you in the academy. How did you know about that name? Well, before I met the Inuzuka family, I used to walk around the cedar parts of the village. I played a few games with dice and I was lucky, winning a lot. One of the guys muttered about wishing he were playing the legendary instead of me. He explained who that person was, and it made me laugh. I didn't know that it was your old teammate. Jiraiya began to laugh hard at what he heard. It took him 2 minutes before he regained control of himself. Oh man, that's great. I wouldn't mention that to her when we meet up, but I am going to remember that. Still though, do we really want someone who is horrible with money as Hokage? Just because she has the pedigree, doesn't instantly make her Hokage material. Naruto said. It's who we need right now, Naruto. With Tsunade at the helm, it would keep the other villages in line. Jiraiya stated. The conversation ended there and the two went to gather their things. Ino refused to look at Asuma in the eye. Her wrist was heavily bandaged as were her shins. The doctor told her that she would not be able to do any hard training for a while. It did not make her happy and she was planning to continue her training anyway. However, her parents were not happy when they were informed of the training and immediately stopped her. That's when Asuma, who was just released from the hospital, came to find her. He was not happy as well. So, your father gave me your training regimen. What you were doing was idiotic and the risk outweighs the reward. What were you thinking? Asuma asked. I was just getting stronger. I don't understand why everyone is acting like I did something wrong. Ino said. You didn't even consult with me and your father about it. If you continued with this, the doctor says that you would have torn ligaments, ending your ninja career. He stated. I was being careful. She argued. This is not the time for your insubordination, Genin. Ino straightened up at that and looked at Asuma, who was looking at her with an angry face. I am your sensei and it is my job to make sure that you are strong enough to handle the outside world. I refuse to allow you to weaken yourself and our team with your reckless behavior. Am I understood? He demanded. Why yes, sensei. Ino said meekly. You will heal up as the doctor told you. When you are cleared, we will work on a training method that will catch you up to the others. If I hear otherwise, Ino, the consequences you will not enjoy. Dismissed. Ino slowly and carefully walked away from her sensei. Once she was gone, Asuma let out a sigh. He wasn't the type to come down hard on his charges, but this needed to be dealt with. Lucky for him, her parents were on board with him and gave him the okay to be tough with her. He would protect the girl, even from herself. Naruto continued to work on the Rasengan while they were on the move. This jutsu was difficult and he had to use both of his hands to try and contain his chakra. It worked but only for a few seconds before it would explode in his face. It looked like he would have to think of another way to contain the jutsu. Humph, a pale imitation of my attack. Damn that fourth. Even in death, he mocks me. A voice from within spat. Naruto was confused by it and looked around to find no one around. He was standing outside a gambling den while Jiraiya spoke to the owner. It took him a while to figure out where the voice came from. Fox, is that you? Naruto whispered. Of course, it's me. The Nine Tails answered. Naruto was about to shout but realized that he was out in the open. He didn't want the people walking around to think that he was crazy. What the hell? Did you enter my brain or something? Naruto asked mentally. For someone whose mind is sharp, you are still just a fool. The Nine Tails said mockingly. Screw you. Anyway, what the hell did you just say about the fourth? That jutsu you're learning, it's a pale imitation to the tailed beast ball that I can do. I guess that your fourth witnessed it and decided to create something similar. I would be impressed if he didn't seal me within you. Yeah, like I asked for you to rampage the village. Naruto decided to stop the conversation there and continued to work on the Rasengan until Jiraiya was done. A fair-skinned woman with brown eyes and straight blonde hair tapped her foot impatiently. She annoyingly moved her bangs away from her brown eyes. She wore dark bluish-gray pants and a gray, kimono-style blouse that was covered by a grass-green haori. A dark bluish-gray obi was tied around her waist and her arms was folded under her very sizable bust. Her eyes just glared at the back of the woman she was with. Shizune, have you had your fun? We need to get going, now, she said with an edge. The young woman looked back her, holding a pot-belly pig. She was also fair-skinned with onyx eyes and jet-black hair. She wore a long bluish-black kimono with white trimmings that was tied by a white obi. The woman frowned at her. Lady Tsunade, why are you so worried? You actually won this time. We should be celebrating, Shizune said. Tsunade was about to reply to her but she was cut off when the temple they were just standing in front of suddenly collapsed. The two were shocked by this and wondered what the hell was going on. That's when a large snake shot out from the rubble. Tsunade narrowed her eyes at who she saw on the top. Tsunade, it's been a long time. Orochimaru said. Tsunade just narrowed her eyes at him. She knew she should have left sooner. Ah, but I'm at 100%. I need to find out if I've missed a step. He argued. I know about the training you learned from Guy. You can continue that exercise, but you will limit your miles. I won't have you running around the village like my fellow Jonin and his mini-me. She said firmly. Kiba pouted at that. It earned an elderly chuckle and a young giggle. The two turned to the amusement to see Tamaki and her grandmother, Granny Cat. Quite a childish pout on such a strong shinobi. Your sensei is right about taking it easy. The elder said. Thank you and it is pleasure to see you again. Kurenai greeted. What brings you to the leaf? Well, we are in the process of finalizing an outpost on our lands. I figure that I would come here in person to see it to the end. She explained. She then looked at Kiba. I have heard whispers about your match. Quite an accomplishment, almost breaking the unbreakable. Yeah, but my success has come with some consequences. Kiba said somberly. Kurenai could only sigh in agreement. From what Hinata told her, things were quite stressful whenever she crossed Neji's path. The boy would growl at her. It got to the point that her caretaker, Ko, would accompany her almost everywhere. She had spoken to Guy about his charge and he promised to deal with it. But that's why I want to get back to my training. I think I've taken the lightning style, depth charge as far as I can. I think I can really make my lightning fang better. Kiba explained. Granny Cat nodded and understood what he was taking about. She looked at Kurenai. I think that when you deem him ready, you teach him his element affinity. Granny Cat said. It was something I was considering when I believe he was ready, but he is still a bit immature to try. Kurenai joked. Kiba pouted again, making Tamaki giggle. Then perhaps you can work on your taijutsu and ninjutsu. No offense to your clan, but fighting using just your instincts can lead to an unbelievably bad situation. The elder said. Huh, that sounds fun. Maybe we can ask Guy Sensei. Kiba said. Absolutely not. For the time being, you will not be asking Guy for any advice without my supervision. Kurenai stated seriously. Where is all this distrust coming from? What have I or Guy Sensei done to earn it? Kiba asked with annoyance. Well, I remember someone being told not to push himself only to find said someone doing squats on the side of the Hokage monument using only their chakra with two green beasts. Said beasts faced the wraith of an angry sensei and said someone could not sit due to the punishment delivered by their angry mother. She explained with a serious look. Okay, I was just asking. Kiba said. Kurenai just sighed while the two females were amused. Neji slammed his palm into the post, nearly splitting it. He calmed himself down before he lost any more control of his anger. Even after 2 weeks, he could still feel the wounds on his back. They didn't hurt as much anymore, but it was a reminder of his failure. Even thinking about, he would feel the 3 marks pulse. Then there was the punishment. It was not unexpected, but it did not make him any less angry that Mongrel had embarrassed him. He swore that he would pay for that. While that was bad, the praise Hinata was receiving made him sick. The elders congratulated her on her win and her actions during the invasion. He didn't understand why she was getting such praise. She fought an opponent that she should have defeated easily but didn't. As for her part in the invasion, all she did was protect the injured and healed. He didn't understand why she was getting so much praise for minor accomplishments. It was infuriating. Neji took several deep breaths to calm himself. It didn't matter what either of them did. Fate was still on his side and he would show them both that their fate was to always be weak. Tsunade was enjoying the night air. It wasn't as if she was getting any sleep. For the past 2 days, she would be plagued with nightmares. It was always the same as her brother and lover would not even look at her. Their back was always to her and they would not even acknowledge her. She had not had a decent sleep since meeting that brat. She didn't even know his name, not that it mattered. If she ever saw him again, she would give him a piece of her mind. A loud shout caught her attention, which was followed by an explosion. Curious, she made her way toward the sound. She came across a small field. There, she saw the brat in question. She watched as the blonde held his palm out and began to gather his chakra. He then used his other hand, moving it quickly across his palm. Tsunade's eyes went wide as a sphere of chakra formed. Naruto used both hands to contain the sphere. With a shout, Naruto drove the sphere into the tree, causing another explosion. When the smoke cleared, there was a decent-sized piece of the tree grinded out. She watched the blonde look at the damage. TCH, still isn't right. Naruto muttered to himself. What is Jiraiya thinking, teaching you that jutsu? Naruto turned toward the voice to see her. Naruto narrowed his eyes at her before turning back to the tree. Tsunade her teeth at the disrespect. You should just give up on this jutsu. You'll never master it. Naruto continued to ignore her and prepared to try again. You don't need to answer me, but it will never happen, brat. It took the fourth and Jiraiya 3 years to master. Again, she was ignored. Naruto formed the Rasengan and launched forward again. Tsunade just watched as another explosion happened. She waited for the dust to clear to see another grinded out piece of the tree. This made Tsunade smirk. See, what did I say? Just give up. Naruto looked at the damage and nods. He stretched a bit before turning around to leave. He walked past Tsunade without a word. He got about a foot before he was hoisted up. He was spun around and grabbed by the scruff of his shirt. Naruto was not happy and glared at the brown eyes of Tsunade, who glared right back at him. You think you can judge me, brat? You don't know jack about me or my loss. The Leaf Village has taken everything from me. You don't have the right to be disappointed in my ways. What the hell do you know, brat? Exclamation mark quote. Don't know much and I don't care. I lost my mother and father when the Nine Tails attacked the village before it was sealed eye on me. Not to mention that I can't ask any of my mother's clansmen about her since they are all dead. I've lived alone for the first 7 years of my life or being hated and ignored for something out of my control. So yeah, I don't know much about your pain, but I've got my own to deal with. Only difference, I face them instead of running away. Naruto said to her. Tsunade was surprised at who she was holding. She knew about the young container of the Nine Tails, but she only saw him when he was just a baby. However, this did not make her any less annoyed. Naruto just looked at her without flinching. Are we done now? Naruto demanded. Okay, I've had enough of this brat. She thought. She dropped the blonde and gave him look. Hey brat, since you're so confident, how about a bet? Naruto just raised an eyebrow. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Tekuno Kanden and as of a few weeks ago, I will be your new sensei. He explained. This surprised Sakura and she looked at her parents. They motioned for her to sit next to them and she did. The Haruno family were together and faced the Jonin. I didn't realize that a choice was made already. I knew that something was going to happen, but I thought it would be official when a new Hokage was selected. Sakura said. The decision was made before the invasion. The third felt that it was an issue that we could not delay, especially should the new Hokage veto his ruling. I was one of 3 Jonin who were chosen and was assigned since I was one of the Jonin who passed a team of your graduating class. They believed that I would be a good fit for you and Naruto. Tekuno explained. If I may, what are your skills as a Jonin? Kazashi asked. I am skilled in trap making and wires. I am a mid to long range shinobi as I carry several weapons on my person. I know how to use swords but in no way am I a master of the art. He answered honestly. I am curious as to why you only have 1 student. What happened to the other 2? Mebuki asked. I had them removed from the shinobi forces after our first C-rank mission. He stated bluntly. Sakura was surprised by this and looked to see that Tobio had the same serious face as his sensei. Who was on your team, Tobio? Sakura asked. I was on a team with Amy Koger and Hibachi Mizuno. Tobio said with annoyance. Sakura. Oh, as she knew the 2. They were not the friendliest of kids back then. When I got them, there were already issues. Neither of them really worked with each other after they passed my test. Amy was very bossy and believed that she could boss the boys around. Tobio was quite clumsy and Hibachi would make any excuse to get out of any type of training or work. When we got our first C rank, it nearly ended badly. I will not tell you what happened, but it nearly got Tobio seriously hurt and the client. What happened after your return? Mebuki asked. We faced the Hokage and council. I'm proud to say that Tobio accepted that he made mistakes and promised to be better. I wish the same could be said about Amy and Hibachi. Amy blamed both of boys for not protecting her client when she was too scared to even protect the client properly. Hibachi lied, putting the blame on Amy and Tobio when he made the mistake in not being aware of where the enemy was. Neither the Hokage nor council was impressed with the 2. When they asked for my input, I asked that Amy and Hibachi be stripped of their symbols and Tobio be placed under me. They must have not been happy with your decision. Kazashi said. They weren't and then they both blamed Tekuno-sensei. That was the nail in their coffins as Lord Third revealed their academy files and the reports Tekuno-sensei kept on us. They were below average when the new system was made, and they made no improvements when they were assigned. Tobio said. Do you know what they are doing now? Sakura asked him. Since being stripped, I know Hibachi's dad has been running him into the ground with his training. He made him apologize to the both of us for his actions. Amy, I haven't seen since. I think she's back with Kasumi but Fuki is still a part of Team 11. So, will you treat our daughter with respect? I was happy when Kakashi was her sensei and our meeting went well but with how it turned out, I will not have my daughter with a Jonin who won't help become the ninja that wants to be. Kazashi stated. I completely understand. What I can offer is to help her continue learning medical jutsu and genjutsu. I admit, I am limited in both areas, but I can recommend those who are. If you wish, I can teach you kenjutsu and how traps work. It will further round you out as a shinobi. The one I'm worried about is Naruto as he is already quite rounded. Tekuno said with a laugh. Well, thank you for answering our questions. I am happy that Sakura will have a responsible Jonin to help her. Mebuki said. Of course. He said with another laugh. The Jonin held his hand out to Sakura. She took it and they shook on it. Welcome to Team 5. Quote. Neji was seated in front of Hiyashi. The genin was summoned by his uncle while he was training. He figured that he would be called thanks to his recent behavior these couple of days. The open glares he shot at Hinata and her teammate, Kiba, were not ignored. Their sensei noticed, his sensei noticed, and several clan members noticed it. It seems that they had enough of it. Do you know why I have summoned you? Hiyashi demanded. It's because of shame the clan with my attitude. Neji stated. Is that what you think? It is not that you have shamed the clan. You've shamed yourself with how you've acted. Gon is the prodigy of the Hyuga and in its place is a petulant child. Neji clenched his fist at what was being said to him. What disappoints me the most is that you keep disappointing the vision that your father had in you. You don't get to speak about my father. Neji roared. You don't get to take any moral high ground just because you were too cowardly to die. Quote, is that what you think? Heishi asked calmly. He then pulled a scroll out before tossing it at Neji. What is this? Neji demanded. It belonged to your father. He spoke. Neji was surprised. Hiyashi just waited so Neji opened the scroll. He began to read it and with each word, his face was in disbelief. What is this? What is this? Neji shouted. When Kumo demanded my head, I was fully prepared to die for the village. Even against my council's advice, I was going to die. Hazashi, your father and my brother, was chosen instead. I protested this decision when Hazashi immobilized me. He looked at me and told me that he wasn't doing this for the clan or the village. He told me that for the first time, he was making his own choice, the choice to save me. That was his choice. That is the truth. Heishi explained. And no, this can't be true. Neji said, not believing him. Hazashi regretted passing along his bitterness to you. It was deserved as you were stronger than my heir. However, fate is not predetermined. We all have the right to choose how we live. With that, Heishi stood and walked past his nephew. Neji just knelt there, tears falling from his eyes. Was replaced with a bomb. Kabuto almost didn't escape the explosion. He reappeared next to Orochimaru. He looked across to see Tsunade being cared for. He almost caught you, Kabuto. Orochimaru said, assumed. That he did. It annoys me, his sealing ability. Kabuto said. He then popped a red pill, which stopped the bleeding. So, what is our next move, Lord Orochimaru? The Sannin held his arm out to him, making him smirk. He undid the bandage to reveal a tattoo. Kabuto smeared some blood on it before putting his palm on the ground. Summoning jutsu. Kabuto called out, summoning 2 brown snakes. They hissed at the group and were preparing to strike. Jiraiya bit his thumb and smeared some blood on his palm. He did the seals and slammed his palm on the ground. Summoning jutsu. Jiraiya shouted. When the smoke cleared, an awfully familiar toad appeared. Yo! Jiraiya cursed when he saw Gamakichi. This amused Orochimaru, who had an idea why Jiraiya was having problems. Summoning jutsu. Naruto shouted. The smoke cleared to reveal a large, aquamarine toad with 2 swords. This removed the amusement from Orochimaru. He narrowed his eyes at the blonde who was joined by Jiraiya. Kabuto, Orochimaru called with a serious tone. Deal with the boy. He does not leave here alive. Kabuto smirked before vanishing. Orochimaru turned his attention to Jiraiya. Naruto appeared before the 2 ladies just as Kabuto arrived across from them. Naruto readied himself for battle, amusing Kabuto. Do you plan on fighting me, Naruto? Our levels are far and in between. If I had to compare, I'm at the same level as Kakashi. Kabuto said. Sorry to burst that bubble of yours, but Kakashi is the worst person to compare yourself to. Naruto said. Hey, just because he focused on Sasuke does not make him weak. Perhaps, if you just waited your turn, he would have turned you into a stronger ninja. However, you were impatient like always. Kabuto mocked. If that's what you think, then you're just as delusional as he is. But hey, if you want to underestimate me like he did and like how you did with Shikamaru, be my guest. It will make your defeat all that much humiliating. Naruto countered with a smirk. Kabuto's smirk fell a little at that. Big talk, Naruto. Can you back it up? Kabuto said, flicking out a kunai. Naruto gave Shizune a brief look. Is she going to be okay? Naruto asked. I don't know. We just need to keep her safe. Shizune said and stood up. Naruto nodded and summoned 4 clones. He motioned the clones to surround Tsunade as he summoned 4 more clones. The 5 charged forward as Shizune followed behind him. Naruto's first attack was ducked while his clone's attack was parried. Kabuto rushed forward to engage the other three. He was having a time dispelling them as they fought with unity. He finally managed to defeat the clones before Naruto, Shizune and the final clone could outflank him. However, two of the clones turned into ash while the third burst into fire. This created an explosion that sent Kabuto flying back. I forgot that he could create several different types of clones. Damn it. Kabuto cursed mentally. He quickly recovered as Shizune took a swipe with her chakra scalpel. He was about to counter but Naruto and his clone kicked him behind his legs, dropping him to his knees. They both grabbed his arms and twisted them, holding him in place. Shizune rushed forward in order to finish the fight. Kabuto powered himself to his feet and dropkicked Shizune in her chest. He used the two boys to land on his feet before kicking one of them. He reversed the other one's hold and stabbed him with his kunai. Naruto gasped before exploding into leaves. Kabuto swiped at the leaves, trying to see. It would only be seconds and the feeling of being cut that saved him from being beheaded. Using a quick substitution, he escaped the leaf cloud. Kabuto appeared away. Kabuto reappeared away from the two. Drips of blood fell onto the grass before it healed. All amusement was gone from his face. He couldn't believe that this brat almost killed him. He looked to see the destruction that Naruto's just did. The boulder didn't even stop the deadly disc as it split it in two. He looked at the blonde and narrowed his eyes. I hope you enjoyed those hits, Naruto. They will be the last ones you will land on me. Kabuto said. You sure about that? Naruto asked and crossed his fingers. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 10 clones appeared. That's when the clones did seals. Leaf Clone Jutsu. Firebomb Jutsu. Ash Smoke Jutsu. Kabuto looked at the army before him. Each clone was armed and ready for battle. Kabuto narrowed his eyes and activated his chakra scalpels. He ran at them and they charged at him. The two sides collided in a furious clashing of attacks. Kabuto was slicing and slashing through the army. Naruto and his clones were getting in their shots, combining the effects of their dispelling to get shots on Kabuto. Still, Kabuto was a Jonin for a reason. Despite his best efforts, Naruto was losing clones fast. Burning Snake Jutsu. Naruto shouted and slammed his palm on the ground, unleashing a large fire snake. The jutsu chased Kabuto, who ran away from it. He did hand seal before disappearing into the earth. The attack hit and blasted some of the earth away. Naruto and his clones were on their toes when Kabuto popped out of the ground in front of Naruto. He chopped Naruto in the neck, forcing him to dispel. Kabuto looked at the other clones, his smirk returning. Hiding among your clones. A good tactic, but it will not last. This is the difference between us, Naruto. Kabuto said. You sure like to hear yourself talk. You take out a few of my clones and you think that you're winning. That's going to be your downfall. Naruto spoke and his clones got ready to continue. Kabuto did as well as Naruto launched himself, continuing the battle. I'll show you that it isn't cursed. Tsunade's just looked at the determined look on his face and it surprised her. I'm going to be Hokage. I'm going to be the best. If you want proof of that, you'll give me that necklace. I'll prove to you that it isn't cursed. Tsunade could only look at his eyes. They were so much like her brothers. Her surprise turned into a small smile. She moved toward him, taking off her necklace. She then placed it around his neck. Naruto was a little surprised that she gave it up and looked at his new accessory. Alright brat, prove it to me. I'll be watch you to see if you can do as you say. She spoke. Watching. What are you talking about? He asked with confusion. Well, I am going to be Hokage. Tsunade stated. Naruto's eyes widened at that. Before he could say anything, an explosion interrupted him. The two turned to see a very bruised up Orochimaru on the ground. The man slowly stood up and the two could see that half of his face was gone. It was as if he was wearing a mask. Tsunade stood up and was preparing to rush forward. She stopped when she saw Jiraiya land in front of her in his transformed state. She gave him a brief look before facing Orochimaru. So, he was never here? She asked. It seems that way, Jiraiya answered. Orochimaru looked at the two and realized that he would not be getting what he wanted. It annoyed him, but he relaxed soon after. He had other ways to get his jutsu back. However, he had to do something about the hidden leaf's growth. He was already seeing the difficulty he would have if they continued to grow. Still, he knew that there was nothing he could do for now. He suspected that his sensei's old rival would not allow him to challenge the change. Orochimaru vanished and reappeared next to Kabuto. Jiraiya and Tsunade watched as he knelt next to him. The man looked at Tsunade and smirked. You should have accepted my offer, Tsunade. No matter, I have other methods to regain my jutsu. He spoke. He then unleashed his intent and focused it on Naruto. The blonde gulped, but Tsunade got in front of him. Orochimaru kept his eyes on the boy. I will not forget this boy. You have interrupted my plans for a second time. There will not be a third. He turned his attention to Tsunade and Jiraiya. Be prepared, my old comrades. I will return and the leaf will burn. I promise. With his piece said, Orochimaru took Kabuto and melted into the ground. Jiraiya and the toad were on alert just in case he tried anything. After a few moments, they could not sense the two anymore. They relaxed with Jiraiya letting out a throaty sigh. He turned to Tsunade and gave her a thumbs up signature. Tsunade just gave him an annoyed grunt before turning to look at Naruto. He was still admiring his new necklace. Dan, Nawaki, I will put my faith in this boy. I will put my faith out there once more. Please, protect him. With that final thought, the battle was now over. Well then, I hope that I can help you all in your goals. So, let's see just how you all function as a team. The man pulled out a single bell and the trio knew what this meant. Takuno smiled as the three geared up to fight. So, shall we begin? Tsunade had just finished her daily meeting with the council. It had been about 2 weeks since she became Hokage and she was already regretting it. The workload was getting to her and then there was the complaints that she had to deal with. Lucky for her, the elders were there to help her without any trouble between them. Even an elder who she never trusted seemed to be playing ball with her. How long that would last would depend on how things went. Either way, it had been a busy 2 weeks. Tsunade neared her office where Shizune was waiting for her. There was also someone with her that she was very interested to see. Shizune, make sure that we are not interrupted. Step inside John and Hatake. We have much to discuss. Tsunade said. The door was opened and she stepped in, Kakashi following. She got to her seat while Kakashi stood in front of her. Once she was settled and she activated the security seal, she faced the silver-haired man. So, first things first. You should know that I do fully intend to punish you. The elders told me that if you couldn't keep Sasuke in check that you would pay a price. However, I wanted to know how you messed up so royally. The first thing, why did you pass this team? They met my expectations, ma'am. I gave them the bell test and they all passed. Kakashi stated. Only after Naruto understood the point of that test, right? Kakashi did not show any reaction. I interviewed your former charges and they told me about the bell test. Sakura's interview was most enlightening. You giving them a second chance is not what disappoints me. I can understand the why, so I can excuse that. It is after you pass them is where I get annoyed. I was focusing on trying to get them to work together, which was difficult because there were outside forces that interfered with what I was trying to do. Kakashi argued. So it's their fault? Tsunade asked with an edge. She pulled out a folder and opened it in front of him. You ignored the issue with Sasuke when he attempted to steal Naruto's scroll. You didn't train them in the tree climbing exercise until your first C-rank mission. You ignored Yukunoichi's request for training when asked. These are notes that Hiruzen took when others came to complain about how you ran your team. There is more than 10 complaints, all saying that you did nothing while favoring Sasuke. Sasuke was further along than the other two. I had a plan for them. If they were just patient, I would have trained them to their full potential. Quote, when was this going to be? When Sasuke became a Chunin. If it led to that, then yes. So, if they had died in that exam, then what would have happened? Keep in mind, Hiruzen's notes explain what happened in the Forest of Death. Quote, I am not defending Sasuke's actions in the forest. However, if they had come together like I preached, none of that would have happened. Are you serious right now? What kind of bullshit excuse is that? You can't preach teamwork when the preacher is a hypocrite and one of his followers refuses to listen. There is no reason for what happened. You should have never recommended your team that was so fractured in the exams. It is a miracle that they survived, and that is on you, Kakashi. Tsunade said hard. She took a breath to calm herself before looking at him. Now, you better have a good one for teaching that boy the Chidori. What could have possessed you to do that? I specifically told Sasuke that jutsu was to save his comrades. By the finals, he did not consider Naruto a comrade, only an enemy. Kakashi explained. Only because your boy was a petty child. His ego couldn't handle that someone who his graduating class saw as a loser, getting stronger than him. So the great Sharingan Kakashi gave him Anbu training and a deadly jutsu to soothe it. She said. And what does Naruto get? Training from a sage, he countered. Naruto would have beaten Sasuke in finals even if Jiraiya didn't help. Ibiki, Tsume and Iruka aren't bad shinobi. Plus, you know firsthand the power of sealing jutsu. Your sensei and his wife were prodigies at the art, so is their son. So far, all I have heard is excuses from you and you have done nothing to correct them. I want to know why you didn't stop Sasuke's research in breaking Naruto's seals. Quote, what? I don't know what you are talking about. Tsunade could see that he wasn't lying. When Sasuke was arrested, we searched his place. We found scrolls on sealing and marks about certain seals. I don't have to tell you which ones. However, you were supposed to keep an eye on him and report anything suspicious. I cannot defend these actions, ma'am. Tsunade sighed at him. As of right now, you are on leave. If we need you, we will call you. If it wasn't for the rise of activity from the other villages, I would demote you. However, you will write down 5 jutsu each for your former charges. I believe that is only fair. Kakashi nodded, but there was something on his mind. Ma'am, may I ask what happened to Sasuke? I have been to his cell and he was gone. Kakashi said. Tsunade looked at Kakashi for a while before answering. As of 3 days ago, he is now a prisoner of Hazuka Castle. Seeing that you couldn't convince him that he was wrong in his actions and he showed no remorse, I sent him to blood prison until he's 18. Afterwards, he will have his chakra sealed and monitored for the rest of his life. His career as a shinobi is over. Kakashi was surprised by this action, but there was nothing he could do. With a bow, Kakashi vanished. Tsunade sighed and deactivated the seals. She really hoped that this would wake the man up. However, she felt like this was only the continuing of very dangerous downward spiral. She only hoped that she was wrong. Nothing more than a lazy bum who thought he was a bigger deal. Sakura got lucky with that ninja who helped her, or else she would be nothing. She felt a boiling rage within whenever she heard about the two. They weren't that special, and it was starting to piss her off that people thought they were. Her mood only worsens when the Hokage had Shikamaru, and Shino stay in front of her. That's when she brought out 2 flak vests. It wasn't just any vest, but it was a Chunin vest. What the hell did that sloth and the bug boy do to deserve it? How was that fair? She wanted to get the hell out of here and fast. Finally, the ceremony was done and Ino was the first one out the door. She stormed her way to the exit, wanting to leave as fast as she could. 2 bad things did not go her way. A hand grabbed her shoulder to stop her. She turned to see Asuma, who was give her a disapproving look. Ino didn't care and shrugged his hand off her. She turned to face him, giving him a hard look. Can I help you, sensei? Ino said with a tone. Asuma just sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. You couldn't even congratulate your teammate? He asked. We both know that my congratulations would mean nothing coming from me. We are not on the best of terms, and before you say it, I don't think it's all on me. She stated. If you think that, then this makes my decision that much easier. Asuma said and handed her a form. What is this? Ino asked. Asuma didn't say anything and let her read it. As Ino read the form, her eyes only got wider. Probation. You're putting me on probation. Quote. You gave me little choice. Your attitude and hostility have reached my limit. You continue to ignore my orders and continue to put yourself at risk. I can't have this continue. Lady Hokage agrees, as does your father. So, you are being placed on probation for 6 months. You either shape up or you're demoted to the remedial forces. Asuma explained. What the hell does that even mean? Ino demanded. You won't be a genin anymore, but you will not be sent back into the academy. The council are creating a division when genin who fail are retrained and reassigned. He explained. So, that's it. You're trying to get rid of me. She spat. No, but I must think of the team. Show me that you can be a team player and you might not be demoted. Continue on this path, Ino, and you will be replaced. It is just that simple. With that, Asuma turned away and made his way out. Ino just stood there, her fists balled up. She couldn't believe what just happened. Tears began to form up in her eyes, but she refused to cry here. She continued on her way before she got more frustrated. Kin stood before Tsunade and the elders. She was now dressed in a green-collared shirt that covered a mesh undershirt, a black mini skirt, black biker shorts, fishnet stocking. GS, 2 black forearm bracers and a blue head tie that kept her hair out of eyes. She stood at attention, but she was nervous as hell. She wasn't nervous with the elders as she proved herself to them, however. This would be the first time that she faced Tsunade. She heard about the female kunoichi and knew her reputation. So, you're Kin Tsuchi. The elders have been speaking about you as have your handlers. It seems that you are willing to be a kunoichi of the village. Tsunade said. Yes, I wish to be a shinobi of the village. Kin said. I am willing to allow it. The elders have informed you about their plans? She asked. The probation program. Yes, they explained it. Quote. Good. So I don't have to go into it. Depending on how you do, you will be given your symbol. All that is needed is for you to be assigned to a jonin. Lucky for you, a jonin asked for you personally. Quote. Really? Who? She asked. Tsunade knocked on her desk and the door opened to reveal a kunoichi. She was wearing a mesh bodysuit that covered her body all the way to her thighs. She wore an orange mini skirt, a tan trench coat, silver shin guards and a necklace. She had purple hair that was tied in a spiky ponytail and pupil-less brown eyes. She looked at Kin with a wide grin. So, you're my new pet? Anko asked, surprising Kin. Behave, Anko. Kaharu said. She's not a pet for you to torture. Kin looked at the three with a bit of worry. Tsunade sighed and looked at her. This is Anko Mitarashi, one of our special jonin. You will be assigned to her so you will be allowed to do missions. She will also be the one who determines if you become a ninja of the leaf. Tsunade explained. Okay, but why her? Kin asked. That's when Anko put her arm around her and pulled her close. Oh, don't be like that. We are going to have some much fun together. Who knows, you might learn something from me. Anko said, rubbing her cheek to her. Kin tried to escape while the other three in the room just sighed. They were reconsidering this decision greatly. Sasuke laid in his cell, holding his chest in pain. This damn seal that was placed on him burned when he got out of line. He was really starting to hate seals. He got to his bed and managed to roll to his back. He laid still and glared at the ceiling. Everything was not going his way and he hated it. He had been defeated, humiliated and his pride shattered. All his plans, all his ambitions were taken away from him and it was all the Leaf Village's fault, especially Naruto. Thinking about that blonde enraged him. He was nothing but a dead last loser who no one cared about. It wasn't until that other loser Kiba decided to be friends with him. Then his family took him in and gave him people who cared. Then those other two losers joined them, and their families took him in as well. He found people who gave a damn, and he became better from it. While he got better, he didn't get anything of the sort. All he got were bootlickers and people who just wanted him for his name. He didn't need them and didn't want them. He wanted power and the leaf didn't give it to him. However, one man gave him power. It was power that he enjoyed. How it felt, it was incredible. It was the power that he needed. It would help him complete his objective. Then that bastard took it away. Naruto took it away from him with his damned seals. He would never forgive or forget what he did, and he would make Naruto pay for it. Yes, he would make Naruto pay. The blonde took away his ambition, so he would take away his dream. That he swore, that he promised.